Hi and welcome from the PPM conference on the Gold Coast for 2023. We're delighted to be here. We're going to be talking to a number of guests over the next couple of days. First up, Michael Furlong from Rent Roll Maximizer. Michael, thank you very much for your time.
Morning, Kevin.
Yeah, it's great to see you. You're the MC here too, so we've got you sort of in between gigs. But
Well, I don't want to take it away from Malcolm because Malcolm is the master of ceremonies and entertainment.
oh, is he?
So I'm the student. I'm in the breakout.
Okay, good.
I'm in the breakout room.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I want to talk to you about growth.
Sure.
And I want to.
topic.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to talk about growth compared to quality. Is there business that you don't want?
Absolutely.
How do you know?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things. The first thing that I really look for is when I'm analysing a rent roll, I will do I'll do an above the line and below the line benchmark analysis. So
Is this with the potential landlord?
Oh, no. This is when I'm looking at the analysis of the rent roll for the agency.
Understand.
So what we do is the first thing to do is to determine what is the benchmark for that office.
Yep.
So we strip out all the data from the property software, and then we do an analysis. And I'll just use rounded figures. If we used $1,000 as the benchmark that it costs to manage a property, then we want to make profit of say 20%. So we're now looking at $1,200. So everything above 1,200 AMI, average annual management fee income, is acceptable. Anything below is not acceptable unless there's a really good reason.
That's a very important benchmark. I just wonder how many business owners know that benchmark.
None. That's what keeps me busy.
Yeah.
And it's when I go into offices, and I see it all the time, and I'll ask the question because I think it's silly when people say my average management fee is 6% across the portfolio or 5%. It means nothing. And it means nothing simply because I don't know the other part of the equation, which is
that is the
what's
cost.
The income?
Yeah.
What's the income?
Oh, yeah.
So 6%
I see.
of what?
Oh, yes.
So if you're in a market of $1,500 a week rentals,
yes,
6% is extraordinary. If you're in a market of $350 a week rentals, 6%, you're going backwards. So I really look at that. The very first thing we do to determine what's good business is it profitable?
Do you do a comparison though? What's good business for this office may be brilliant business for another office. I mean, do you look at it, does it vary market to market?
Absolutely. Again, yeah, great question. So what we first do is we first look at, is it profitable? Because if it's profitable, then it's the first tick. We will then entertain taking it on to the rent roll. Then what I look at is how far is it away from the office? I'll give you an example. Again, when I'm looking at rent rolls, if I've got, and I did one about 3 years ago when I was with an office, they were in Box Hill, 550 properties. They were managing properties, they'd bought 2 rent rolls, 93 different suburbs. Now, if you have a look at that, if you were looking at 93 suburbs, so they were travelling from Box Hill down to Mount Martha, down to, so Melbourne based, down to Mount Martha. So they're travelling sort of 40 k's one way, 40 k's another, 40 k's the other. So their spread was ridiculous. So what I look at then, Kevin, is that you end up with higher staff turnover.
Yeah.
You end up with your trades not being able to come and pick up the keys to do your play. So that's bad business. So when I'm trying to teach officers, what are we looking for? Well, we're looking for something within our catchment that is profitable, that a landlord wants to comply with some of the things that we want, the expectations that we want. What's a landlord looking for? And as part of my presentation today, they're looking for the property manager to solve the problems. They don't want more problems.
Right. Yeah.
That's why they engage a property manager. The property manager should be solving problems. So what we're looking for is, we don't want to be combative. We don't want to be arguing with landlords or, will you fix this, will you fix that? So the quality of the property is important.
Yeah.
But before we get there, we should be doing the analysis on, is it profitable? Because too many offices bring on, and particularly business development managers, I see this all the time, they're incentivised simply by the number of doors they bring on.
Yeah,
well,
without,
as we know,
yeah.
number of doors just means you're going backwards.
Well, as a business owner, that's the thing that I'd be most focused on to start with. So I can understand why they would do that, but I understand also what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's actually the quality of what you bring on. Tell me, have you noticed a difference in the quality of service offered by officers based on what you find about the quality of the rent roll. In other words, if the quality falls off,
Yes.
What parts of the business does that affect?
Well, what I find, and again, let's just take a helicopter view of 3 businesses. One business has lower profitability type properties, so their property manager's probably going to have to manage a lot more. So then there's the trickle effect back down to that.
Yep.
You just don't have the quality of service. So the other question, which is the golden question in our industry, and I know we've both been in it for a long time, which is how many property managers should a property manager manage?
Yeah.
And my answer to that is enough to deliver enough quality service. Whatever that is,
It's
it is.
such a broad term though. What's quality service?
Well, if you're at 200 properties and you can deliver a good quality service back through to a client, so you've got good NPS, you're not losing your clients, you've got retention,
Yeah.
you don't have staff turnover,
Right.
you're not throwing the phone every time a bloody landlord, bloody tenant, every time someone rings, you're not elevated, you're enjoying your quality of work. That's quality service. If you can do 200, fantastic, because it might be all within a little catchment area. But if you've got the same 200 properties and you're spread all over a town, like say Melbourne, you're spread all over and you're running ragged, then maybe 140, 150. So there is no real answer to that one. So I think service is a prerequisite. Service is not a point of difference. And then you have to have a look at retention. What's your retention strategy?
Retention of staff or retention of properties?
Both. Retention of owners. Retention of properties is a difficult one, particularly at the moment with so many changes to legislation. Again, I'm Victorian based, so it seems to be every couple of weeks we're getting a new attack on the owners. There's a big debt that Victoria's paying, and the property owners are being the ones, it's the cash cow. So a lot more owners are selling up. So that's not really anything to do with the property manager. That's market sentiment. So what you're looking for is you want to retain the landlord or the rental provider. So you might have a multi who might have 3 or 4 properties, and they might be selling down 2 just to liquidate some asset to make it balanced. So you've not really lost the property. So what I look at, Kevin, is if you're losing business, was it an acceptable loss or a not acceptable loss? And that forms part of the benchmark when you're trying to manage your team. So an acceptable loss is the one where we've sold the property through the agency, or one where an owner's moved back in. That's acceptable, you can't change, or a family member. A non-acceptable is where it's been transferred through to another agency, or it's been sold by our competitor.
Yeah.
Not acceptable. So we look at those. That's really important to. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, it did. It did. Michael, there's so much more I want to talk to you about. I wonder whether you'd do me an enormous favour. We're out of time right now.
Sure.
Can you stay with me? Because I want to come back and ask you a few more questions about owners of businesses that are struggling with their rent roll, not getting the kind of growth they want. I want to get to the bottom line of that. Can you come back and do that with me?
Absolutely. And you need to sit in on my session, because that's my whole session today.
Good.
Which is about how can you double your rent
Well,
roll.
everyone watching this now is not going to be able to do that.
No.
So I want to get some little nuggets from you.
Perfect.
Yeah. Stay with us. We will come back in another segment and catch up, and we'll discuss the things we've just discussed now. Stay with us. I'm Kevin Turner, and we are coming to you live from the PPM conference.